Imagine knocking on the door of the most powerful man in the world. A man who hasn't spoken to the press in over a decade. A man whose name sends shivers down Wall Street. Whose secrets could topple empires. Now imagine he lets you in. But what he reveals changes everything. This isn't just an interview. This is a trap. And by the time you realize you've fallen for him, it's already too late. If you've ever wondered what happens when ambition collides with desire, when a woman who's built her career on uncovering the truth suddenly finds herself lying to protect the very man she was sent to expose, then buckle up. Because this story? It's not what you think. By the end of this video, you'll get the answer you came for. The real reason this billionaire vanished from the public eye. And why the woman who swore to destroy him might be the one person who can save him. Let's talk about power. Not the kind you see in boardrooms or on Forbes lists, but the kind that lives in the silence between heartbeats. The kind that makes a world-famous journalist, Lena Carter, a woman who's interviewed dictators and exposed billion-dollar scams, walk into a secluded penthouse and forget every question she meant to ask. Because the man waiting for her isn't just rich. He's dangerous. Not in the way you'd expect, though. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't threaten. He just watches. Like he already knows every secret she's ever buried. And here's where you come in. You've clicked on this video because you want to know, what's the catch? Why would a man who could buy anything, anyone, choose isolation? Why would a woman who's built her life on truth risk it all for a lie? And most importantly, what happens when the cameras stop rolling? I'll tell you this much. The moment Lena steps into his world, the rules change. The billionaire, Damien Cross, isn't just hiding from the media. He's hiding from something far worse. And the deeper Lena digs, the more she realizes, this story was never about an interview. It was a test. One she's already failing. Because the closer she gets to the truth, the harder it is to remember. She was only supposed to be his downfall. But here's what no one knows yet. Not the audience. Not even Lena. There's a third player in this game. Someone pulling strings from the shadows. And by the time you finish this video, you'll realize, the real story hasn't even begun. The door exploded inward, and time seemed to fracture into jagged heart-pounding fragments. Jake barely had a second to react before Sarah shoved him and Emma to the ground. Her gun barking out a deafening shot that sent the first intruder stumbling back. In the chaos of shouting men and splintering wood, Jake caught a glimpse of the truth. These weren't just hired thugs. They moved with precision, their gear tactical, their voices clipped with military efficiency. And then, one of them shouted a name that turned Jake's blood to ice. Lena, stand down. Lena. Not Sarah. Lena. The woman he'd trusted with his daughter, with his life, had been lying from the very first moment they'd met. But there was no time to process. Bullets tore through the drywall as Jake dragged Emma toward the kitchen, her small fingers gripping his with terrified strength. Sarah, Lena, covered their retreat, her movements too fluid, too practiced for someone who'd claim she was just a drifter looking for work. Then came the moment that changed everything. One of the men lunged for Emma, and Lena didn't hesitate. She put a bullet between his eyes. The room fell deadly silent for half a breath before the remaining men opened fire, and Lena went down hard, blood blooming across her shoulder. Jake watched in stunned horror as she crawled toward Emma, her voice ragged but clear. The locket, your mom gave you, play the message. Then the world erupted again. Jake didn't remember grabbing the gun from Lena's limp hand or firing at the last man standing. He only knew that when the smoke cleared, Emma was sobbing into his chest, and Lena was gasping out a truth that unraveled the last of Jake's reality. Claire hadn't died in a car accident. She'd been murdered. And Emma? She wasn't just Jake's daughter. She was the key to a biotech breakthrough Claire had died trying to protect. A secret hidden in the locket Emma had worn since birth. The men who'd come for them tonight were part of a shadowy organization that had been hunting Claire's research for years, and Lena, Claire's estranged sister and former CIA operative, had been watching over Emma in secret, waiting for the day they'd strike. With Lena bleeding out in his arms and sirens wailing in the distance, Jake finally understood the depth of the betrayal, and the love, woven through this nightmare. Claire had faked her death to protect them, leaving Lena to guard Emma from the shadows. The help-wanted ad? It hadn't been chance. Lena had engineered it, knowing Jake would soon be in over his head. And now, as Jake pressed his hands to Lena's wound, begging her to hold on, She smiled weakly and whispered the last twist of all. Asterisk, Claire's alive. And she's waiting for you. Asterisk. The police found Jake clutching Emma in the wreckage of their home, Lena's body gone and only a single clue left behind. A burner phone with one saved contact. Asterisk, Safe House 12. Asterisk, the message attached was a grainy video of a woman with Claire's smile, her voice trembling as she spoke 2 words that would send Jake and Emma on a desperate cross-country journey. Asterisk, find me. Asterisk. As the screen fades to black, one question lingers, not just for Jake, but for all of us. How far would you go for a second chance with someone you thought was lost forever? The answer, it turns out, isn't in the running or the fighting. It's in the quiet moments, the lullabies, the peanut butter on the walls, the way a child's hand fits perfectly in yours, that tell you what's worth dying for. And sometimes, if you're brave enough to trust the broken people life sends your way, you might just discover that the love you thought was gone was only waiting for the right moment to come home. Lena Carter wasn't supposed to fall for Damien Cross. She was supposed to expose him. That's what her editor demanded, what her career needed, and what the world expected. After all, she was the journalist who had taken down corrupt politicians and shady CEOs with nothing but a pen and a gut feeling. But nothing could have prepared her for Damien. He wasn't just another billionaire hiding behind lawyers and PR teams. He was different. The way he spoke, slow, deliberate, like every word was a chess move, unnerved her. The way his eyes lingered just a second too long made her wonder if he already knew why she was really there. Because here's the thing. Lena hadn't just been assigned this interview. She'd been chosen. And the person who sent her? That's where this story gets really interesting. Before she ever set foot in Damien's penthouse, Lena had been handed a file. No return address, no sender name, just a single, typed note. Asterisk, he's not who you think he is. And neither are you. Asterisk, inside were photos, bank records, and a list of names. People connected to Damien who had vanished without a trace. Some were business rivals. Others were women. Women who looked eerily like her. That should have been her first red flag. But ambition has a way of blinding even the sharpest minds. So she walked into that penthouse, recorder in hand, telling herself she was in control. She wasn't. Because Damien didn't ask about her career, her accolades, or even the interview. His first question? Asterisk, who sent you? Asterisk, and the way he asked it, like he already knew the answer, sent a chill down her spine. Meanwhile, outside the walls of that penthouse, another story was unfolding. A shadowy figure, someone Lena had never met but who knew everything about her, was pulling strings behind the scenes. Phone calls in the dead of night. Money moving between offshore accounts. A security feed mysteriously erased. Whoever this person was, they didn't just want Damien exposed. They wanted him destroyed. And Lena? She was the perfect pawn. Because here's the twist. Damien wasn't just hiding from the media. He was hiding from them. The real power players, the ones who didn't need headlines to ruin lives. And the deeper Lena dug, the more she realized. She was standing in the middle of a war she never even knew existed. Then there was the other complication, the one she couldn't admit out loud. The way Damien's voice softened when he talked about his late mother. The way he flinched at the sound of sirens outside, like he was waiting for them to come for him. The way he looked at her, not as a journalist, not as a threat, but as someone who understood. And that was the most dangerous thing of all. Because the more she saw of the man behind the myth, the harder it became to remember she was there to betray him. But secrets have a way of surfacing. And just when Lena thought she was getting closer to the truth, another envelope arrived. No note this time. Just a single key. And an address to a warehouse by the docks. The same place where one of the missing women was last seen. And that's when Lena realized, she wasn't just chasing a story anymore. She was part of it. The question was, whose side was she really on? Because here's what no one tells you about the truth. It's never just one lie. It's layers. And the deeper you go, the harder it is to tell who's playing who. So tell me, do you still think this is just a love story? Or are you starting to see the real game? Stick around. Because the next move? It changes everything. The warehouse by the docks wasn't just abandoned. It was a tomb. The moment Lena stepped inside, the air turned thick with the scent of salt and something metallic, something that made her stomach twist. The key fit perfectly into a rusted locker, and inside, she found a stack of documents that made her blood run cold. Damien's name was everywhere, but not in the way she expected. These weren't records of his crimes. They were records of his victims. Bank transfers, medical reports, even grainy surveillance footage of men in black suits following the missing women. And at the bottom of the pile, a single photograph of a younger Damien, standing beside a man whose face had been scratched out. The note on the back read, Asterisk, they made us monsters. Now it's your turn to choose. Asterisk. Lena's hands shook as she dialed Damien's number. The private line he'd given her, the one he said was for emergencies. But before she could press call, her screen lit up with an unknown number. The voice on the other end was distorted, mechanical, but the words were clear. Asterisk, leave now, or you'll end up like the others. Asterisk. The line went dead just as a shadow moved in the corner of the warehouse. Lena ran, her heart pounding louder than her footsteps, but when she burst into the daylight, there was no one there. Just a black car idling across the street, its windows tinted too dark to see inside. And then slowly it drove away. That night, Damien showed up at her apartment unannounced, his usual composure shattered. His knuckles were bruised, his shirt sleeve torn, and his eyes. God, his eyes were terrified. He didn't apologize. He didn't explain. He just grabbed her shoulders and said, Asterisk, you can't trust anything you found. They planted it. They've been planning this for years. Asterisk. But before he could say more, the power cut out. The apartment plunged into darkness, and through the window, Lena saw flashlights sweeping the street below. Damien pulled her close, his breath hot against her ear. Asterisk, they're here. And if they take me, you're next. Asterisk. What happened next was a blur. A fire escape. A sprint through back alleys. The sound of boots pounding pavement behind them. And then, silence. They hid in the back of a diner, the kind of place where no one asked questions, and Damien finally told her the truth. Not about the missing women. Not about the money. But about the organization he'd been running from since he was 25. A group so powerful, they didn't have a name. Just a symbol. A serpent coiled around a sword. The same symbol Lena had seen stamped on one of the warehouse documents. They don't just kill people, Damien whispered. Asterisk, they rewrite their stories. Make the world forget they ever existed. Asterisk. And then came the twist Lena never saw coming. The moment Damien reached into his coat and slid a faded photograph across the sticky diner table. It was a younger version of her father, standing beside the same scratched-out man from the warehouse photo. They owned him too, Damien said. Asterisk, and if you keep digging, they'll own you. The screen fades to black. The audience is left with one burning question. How deep does the rabbit hole go? Stick around, because the final piece of the puzzle changes everything you think you know. Lena's hands trembled as she stared at the photograph, her father's face, younger, sharper, but undeniably his, smiling beside the same faceless figure that haunted Damien's past. The diner's flickering neon light cast eerie shadows across the table, and for the first time, the weight of the truth crushed her. This wasn't just Damien's fight. It was hers. Her father hadn't died in a car accident like she'd been told. He'd been erased. Just like the others. The serpent and the sword, they weren't just symbols. They were a warning. And now, they were coming for her too. Damien's voice was low, urgent. They know you have the files. They know you've seen too much. Asterisk. His eyes darted to the diner's door, where headlights flashed in the parking lot. Too bright. Too deliberate. They were out of time. He grabbed her hand and pressed a thumb drive into her palm. Everything you need is here. Names. Dates. Proof. But if you use it, there's no going back. Asterisk. Lena's mind raced. She could run. She could hide. Or she could do what she'd always done best. Expose the truth, no matter the cost. But this wasn't just a story anymore. This was her life. And Damien's. The man she'd been sent to destroy, the man she'd sworn to betray, was now the only person standing between her and the shadows that had taken her father. The car outside revved its engine. Damien stood abruptly, tossing cash onto the table. Stay here. Lock the door. Don't move until I come back. Lena opened her mouth to argue, but the look in his eyes silenced her. This wasn't a request. It was a goodbye. And then he was gone, striding into the night toward the waiting car. His shoulders set like a man walking to his execution. The seconds stretched into eternity. Then, gunshots. Lena's breath caught. She lunged for the door, but the diner's cook grabbed her arm. "Don't," he muttered. Asterisk, "you'll get yourself killed." But she couldn't just sit there. Not when Damien was out there. Not when this was her fault. She yanked free and burst outside, the cold air hitting her like a slap. The car was still there, idling. The door hung open. Empty. No sign of Damien. No sign of a struggle. Just a single playing card, the ace of spades, left on the driver's seat. The same card she'd seen tucked in her father's old desk drawer years ago. A calling card. A message. "We're still here." Her knees nearly buckled. They'd taken him. Just like they'd taken her father. Just like they'd taken all the others. But then her phone buzzed. A single text from an unknown number. Asterisk, check the thumb drive. Now. Asterisk, hands shaking, she plugged it into her laptop. The screen lit up with a video file. Damien's face filled the screen, bruised but alive, his voice steady. Asterisk, if you're seeing this, they have me. But it's not over. The files on this drive. They're the key. Publish them. Burn it all down. And Lena. Don't look back. Asterisk, the video cut to a cascade of documents, photos, bank records. Enough evidence to bring down governments. Enough to destroy the serpent and the sword once and for all. The choice was hers. Run and live a lie, or fight and risk everything. Lena took a breath, opened her email, and attached the files. The cursor hovered over send. And then, click. The truth was out. Within hours the world would know. The shadows would be forced into the light. And Damien? Either he'd be free, or he'd be gone forever. But here's the twist, the one thing even Lena didn't see coming. As the first news alerts blared across her screen, her doorbell rang. There, standing on her porch, was a man she thought she'd never see again. Her father. Older. Weary. But alive. "You did good, kid," he whispered. Asterisk. "Now let's go get him back." Asterisk. The screen fades to black. The audience is left breathless. Because the truth? It's never just one story. It's the lies we uncover, the secrets we keep, and the choices that define us. And sometimes, just sometimes, love and justice win after all. But the real question is, what would you have done? Comment below. And if you think this story is over, think again.